In the shocking turn of events, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has resigned from her position. She's fled from Bangladesh and has landed at the Hindon Air Base in India after resigning her post amidst the violent protests. She will be heading to London via India. Students have been protesting in Bangladesh over the job quotas. The protests escalated as the students were killed during the protests. Although the Bangladeshi Supreme Court scrapped most of the job quotas, the protesters were back on the streets and demanded the resignation of Sheikh Hasina. Visuals from Bangladesh flashed all over the internet as protesters barged into the PM's house in Dhaka today and also spread across the streets. Amidst all of this, Bangladesh Army Chief Waker-uz-zaman held a press conference and announced that the army would be coordinating with the Awami League and BNP to form an interim government under the president's guidance in the country, which has been fraught by protests. Joining us at this point is a special panel that's live with us. Ambassador Bhashpati Mukherjee, former diplomat, joins us live. Adit Kothari, founding member. Index Society is live with us. Major General Sheikh Hasina, former additional DG Infantry, also joins us live. Prashanta Kumar Shil, international political analyst, is also joining us live. But I think we have some more details as well that we're going to be sharing with you very, very shortly. But first, Ambassador Mukherjee, let me bring you in here on this crisis that is unfolded in Bangladesh. What do you make of it? And did you believe that the resignation of Sheikh Hasina would come so suddenly and in such dramatic fashion with her having to flee the country?
Well, first of all, Uday, I don't believe that it was a student agitation that brought her down at all. The student agitation had already been sorted with the Bangladesh Supreme Court having turned back the reservations. And actually, the protesters also went home. That they came back 2 days ago would appear to me, as a keen analyst of events there, that there are forces inimical also to India and inimical to her and wanted to bring her down and who used the student protest as a pretext and pushed in the demand for her resignation, which then the Bangladeshi army chief gave her 45 minutes to resign or go. The chaotic scenes which are being seen on the streets of Dhaka, including the desecration of the statue of Mujibur Rahman, the founding father, Bangabandhu, we call him in Bengali, of Bangladesh, is very distressing. And it would appear that there are forces inimical to the Awami League, to Sheikh Hasina, but also to India, who are trying to get control, and that in a moment of crisis, the army chief selected by her did not stand by her and gave her 45 minutes to leave. It is not yet clear to me that she is going to London. She landed in Agartala by helicopter, I'm told, and then was flown by Indian Air Force to the Hindon Air Base, and she is still at the Hindon Air Base. But what is important for us here that we need to understand as a nation is that, as first of all, a steadfast ally of India is no longer there, that the situation in the neighboring country that we helped to liberate, and General Asthana would tell us more about that, is in chaos, that Bangladesh is actually in a meltdown. There is no law and order. There are forces, there are mobs, there is mob rule there, which then brings us to the next worry, which is what is the fate of Indian citizens there, what is the fate of our students, and what is the fate of Bengali Hindus who have Bangladeshi passports and who elected to stay on in Bangladesh because they believed in the Bangladeshi dream, which was that Bengali culture and language is more important than religion, which is how the second partition of Bengal took place when you had the creation of Bangladesh. That would appear to be ephemeral now, because if that was so, then these chaotic scenes would not be taking place. We also need to look at the whole issue of a possible exodus, maybe also of hostile elements, which brings me also to the whole issue of should we immediately seal the border? It's a long border. It's also a border which is vulnerable because we have the whole northeast security we have the chicken's neck, and we have the whole concept of not only the security of West Bengal, but inflaming the sentiments of not just Indians in general, but Bengalis in particular, if there is large-scale slaughter of Bengali Hindus, which will start taking place in case the army cannot bring the situation back to order. If there would be large-scale slaughter, there would be chaotic scenes in West Bengal, 100%. So the situation is volatile, and the first thing that I hope and pray is that the Bangladeshi army chief at least can bring the situation back on order, which means he has to put his troops on the streets, they have to shoot and bring order back. He has said that the troops will not shoot. If the troops will not shoot, this can go to a dangerous level, because I am told that Hindus are being targeted all over Bangladesh, not just in Dhaka, but in Noakhali and other areas. And if the army does not act quickly, there will be a very, very complex situation unfolding for all of us here sitting in India.
All right, let me quickly, in fact, talk our viewers through those pictures which have come in fact, today. And those pictures are very, very shocking, which have come in of protesters ransacking the residence of Sheikh Hasina. So let's quickly talk our viewers through those pictures. Okay, this was the helicopter which, of course, carried Sheikh Hasina out of Dhaka. She was seen leaving Dhaka. She, of course, boarded that chopper and left. She fled. These are those visuals of her, of course, rushing away from her official residence. Meanwhile, protesters breached the residence of Sheikh Hasina. They breached the Bangladeshi PM's residence. They stormed in today. And then, of course, those shocking scenes came in of protesters actually inside Sheikh Hasina's residence, ransacking it, vandalizing the property inside as well, even lying on the bed, on a bed inside PM's residence. So they stormed and went inside the rooms. They lay on the beds there, as you can clearly see, of course, trying to convey a point, made videos of it as well, filmed themselves inside. They ate, they were eating, they rushed into the kitchen, they ate whatever they could lay their hands on there, and they also vandalized various parts of the streets as well. They painted these slogans, this graffiti on the streets of Dhaka today too. Also, they celebrated after, of course, hearing of Sheikh Hasina's resignation. Here you can see visuals of celebrations as well, which had erupted in various parts of Dhaka. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's statue was also vandalized. The father of Sheikh Hasina, you can see there, a man trying to desecrate and break the statue there. Also, anti-government slogans were heard all over the streets of Dhaka in these visuals, of course, which you've clearly seen. Okay, let me quickly go across and bring in Adit Kothari as well now for his perspective on this story. Adit, a very, very shocking turn of events there in Dhaka. And this is actually disturbing to see the kind of vandalism that continued, the kind of scenes that came in from the presidential palace to not really show our sentiments of what's coming and what lies ahead in the next few days for our neighbor. What do you make of it, Adit Kothari?
I think Bangladesh, just not Bangladesh, in fact, the world is turning into a tinderbox. We've seen rioting and vandalism all across the UK, and the Bangladeshi government has just been completely disrupted, and as a consequence, the military rule will be established. We clearly don't know who's actually going to be in power, whether it's going to be the BNP eventually, or whether it's going to be the army which is going to be calling the shots. But it's extremely disturbing, and extremely disturbing for any concerned Indian. I'm currently sitting in Calcutta. Anybody in Bengal, is going to be thoroughly nervous about the kind of events that have transpired across the border. And it is only a matter of time that some of it is actually going to spill over into Bengal and other parts of Northeast, and that's what that's what should be the concern for the central government. Very responsible statements coming in from both the leader of opposition in Bengal, Shubhendu Adhikari, and the current Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee. I think they both, have said on record that, they're extremely nervous about the situations. But at the same time, Shuendu's concerns are a bit more towards the minority population languishing in Bangladesh as a consequence of our partition. There's almost 7% of the population of Bangladesh is Hindu, and we've already seen Hindu academicians, Hindu professors in universities being attacked. There are Hindu families who are being attacked. Women are being attacked. So that is something that should be the responsibility of the government of India to actually ensure that they can have conversations with the current military in Bangladesh to ensure that those people are protected. But all in all, this was going to happen. The writing was clear on the wall when 90 students were killed on Sunday. The protesters see the Awami League as a anti-Islamic party. They started to see them as an anti-Islamic party, and which is why they've come down to the streets. I concur with Ambassador Mukherjee. It's not a student-led movement. It's a Jamaat-e-Ulema-led movement. It's the Islamists who've essentially taken over the streets of Dhaka and the streets of Bangladesh, which is why you don't see women at all. It's only being led by men. So very disheartening situations at the moment. And we hope the senses prevail and Bangladeshi people can go back to their daily lives without creating any ruckus for civil.
Well, I don't know how soon that's going to happen. I don't know how soon that's going to happen, given the situation, Major General Sheikh Hasina, ruled by proxy of the military, or any faith that you have in this interim government that has been put in place.
See, immediately the first priority, I think, of the army should be to bring the situation under control and get the law and order sorted out first before getting on with other things. And the statement of the army chief, when he was addressing the country, it indicated that he is going to perhaps do that to that extent. But then the brickbats of the hard line being taken on the protesters are such that army will also be cautious. That's one part of it. Secondly, I want to highlight some bigger issues. You see, in the instrument of warfare, in the modern warfare, a new instrument has emerged, and that is creating unrest in the target country where you want to harm. Now, in this particular case, the target country happens to be Bangladesh and Awami League in particular, and Sheikh Hasina, and perhaps the other issue is the targeting the India indirectly. Now, let me put it this way. As was very rightly mentioned, the student protest logically should have ended after Supreme Court gave the decision in their favor. So thereafter, the traction is basically from the opposition parties, the Jamaatis, the ISK elements of ISKP, elements of AQIS, elements of ISI, and the external funding and certain other powers who were not very happy with the recent behavior of Bangladesh in some manner. Now, apparently, it is a cocktail of everything else, of all what I have mentioned, which has brought the situation to that to the situation as we see it. Now, the problem is, it is a very big concern for India from many counts. Firstly, let's take the security angle. We have 4,000 plus kilometers of border with Bangladesh. Now, if the exodus takes place along the borders into India, there can be a problem. Secondly, the minorities who are already there, which has been highlighted earlier as well. Now, protection of minorities will become again a major issue because we do not interfere in the neighboring country. But at the same time, protecting all Indians, perhaps there will be, we can't close our eyes to that as well. So I'm sure government would be working out, and in my opinion, it's time to talk to the new army chief and certainly tell him that these are our concerns, and he should bring the law and order to an extent that the minorities are safe. After all, they are Bangladeshi citizens. So I think, and a little pressure on that context. That's one part of it. Secondly, when we see the spillovers, and there are certain strategic implications also. Like after 71, we were quite comfortable that this part of the border is fairly secure, and we don't have to actually worry about this part. Now, conventionally, Bangladesh army doesn't have that kind of combat power, but they have fair amount of potential to push in the terrorists and give space to the terrorists, which used to happen during BNP rule. Now, if BNP forms part of the interim government, the concern will be even bigger. And BNP and Jamaatis are known to be sheltering them and helping them in terror activities inside India. Also, if there is an element of, let's say, even Chinese were not very happy with Bangladesh for many things, some projects given to India, a certain access not given to them in some of the islands and things like that. Maybe that the fund flow for a social unrest is also coming from various places. Even Americans were not too happy with Bangladesh. Now, considering that, now we know we have a major concern in a manner that all our border countries in our borders, other than China, everybody is reasonably unstable, and amongst that unstable, the spillover of that instability also impacts us because the cultural and religious linkages are both sides. So, in all, there is a concern. We will have to now, our security forces will have to be, BSF will have to be on guard. Clear-cut instructions will have to be there as to what to do with the refugees if they come along, what to do with the minorities if they want to cross over. And I think some pressure, the most important thing is a pressure or a communication to the army chief in Bangladesh to protect our Indians, protect the Hindu minorities in Bangladesh. Uday.
Okay, let me in fact quickly take that across to our other guests as well who are joining us. In fact, Prashant also continues to be with us. Prashant Ashil. Prashant Ashil, many are wondering who was behind the protesters. Were these just organic student protests, or was there something more sinister at work here? Because the fact is, despite the Supreme Court scrapping the quotas, the protests continued. So was it just about the quotas, or was there something more, Prashant?
Okay, thank you. Actually, previously I told you that is one kind of fundamental model work in that kind of from protest. Actually, I previously told that is which is implemented in Afghanistan, which is implemented in Pakistan. That kind of direct model imposed in Bangladesh directly, because you know that firstly, the protest is coming from student protest. We can that everyone that's called a very much student protection, student movement. But when the scenario is very clear, crystal clear after 10 or 15 days, that is an external affairs are including that. There's an international pressure is including that. You can very rightly say that is a Chinese, one kind of Chinese. You know, the Chinese hegemony, Chinese interaction is very much growing in not only from Bangladesh but also in South Asia. You know that is in Maldives is one of the targeting, and also Sri Lanka, and so lots of countries in Bangladesh. That is some people are moving, patronizing from Chinese influences. So another part is that here, you know that the Bangladesh and India share the fifth largest border in the world. So there is lots of issues. There is Tista, there is Tipai Mukh Dam, there is Ganga. So lots of rivers, and there is another issue is the Seven Sisters concerning issue. There is a very sophisticated border in West Bengal, Tripura and Assam, and also in Mizoram. And so the scenario is that from that you can already mention what the condition of the minorities of Hindus in Bangladesh. I still live in Bangladesh. So that is you know that the Topple, the minorities Hindu are living from one is Chittagong and one is Khulna. The situation from this, the new situation is very much horrible and rustic. Already it is implemented for the from Jamaati influence and the Islamic fundamental. They are very included, and they are snatching and very firing and everything, looting their goods, fundamental goods, and they are so much vulnerable from the minorities Hindus are in this band. So I can think you can already mention the army chief. He can control the situation. If it is possible to control the situation, I can think this is not actually the people, the Protestant, the movement activities. They are very much loudly engaging. Lots of demand. They can want that is that is a nominated government from elected government from by the government. But the situation is not like that. Our army chief, they can declare that we can made a qualifying government. So lots of different parties are come, and then we can make a qualifying government. So I think this is a one kind of mistakes, because there's lots of ideological parties are there. There is a BMP is there. There is an Islamic parties are there. There is some left parties are there. So is it possible to keep a qualifying government? So that is the issues actually. And what's the role about in India at this time? Because you know that the Indian Bangladesh is very good relation, very tight relation, very wonderful, fantastic relation with Sheikh Hasina. But the situation is not like that. The situation is one kind of patriotism terrorism. We can see that in West Bengal, what is happening? What are Shubhendu Adhikari, Dilip Ghosh are all time. They can outering that the extremes, you can the Malda, Murshidabad, and Dinajpur, and lots of places beside in Bangladesh.
Okay, I think we've lost you there, Prashanta. But Ambassador Mukherjee, quickly come in here on what this, of course, now means for India. With this new interim government in place, representatives of the Jamaat, BNP now coming in to possible power in Bangladesh, what this means moving ahead now?
There are very disturbing reports coming in from Bangladesh, from Bengali sources particularly, that I can express, that the slaughter of Hindus, Bangladeshi Hindus, has started. That's the first issue of huge concern, which will inflame public opinion in India if it continues. The second is, there is no question of formation of a government there until the army can restore order. A government is farcical in the present situation in Bangladesh. They have to bring out the troops, bring a curfew, shoot at sight, bring order. They have to stop slaughter of Hindus and slaughter of minorities, which is going on wholesale, particularly outside Dhaka. Then we can look at what is the composition of that government. Earlier they had said it would be composed of representatives of Awami League and BNP and the Jamaat. Then we hear now that it will be Jamaat and BNP. There's no mention of Awami League. But Awami League is well organized. Awami League will fight back, in which case you will have civil war in Bangladesh, in which case you will definitely have to cope with the whole issue of a refugee exodus. Moreover, as General Asthana rightly pointed out, so far we had on this part of our border had some security that it can be controlled with the paramilitary forces, with the BSF, etc. If the situation gets aggravated over the next 24 hours, I see no option but to move in regular army units on the Indo-Bangladesh border. They will have to be moved in. A full regiment will have to be moved in. And we would have to see how we can contain the fallout in India of slaughter of minorities taking place there. Because there are very distressing photos and conversations, recorded conversations of Bangladeshi Hindus who are contacting those of us who have been in touch with them. And those are very, 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 very disturbing. So, the situation is too fluid there right now for us to talk about government formation. First, they must bring back law and order ASAP. Otherwise, how can we sit back and watch wholesale slaughter of Hindus taking place?
That's a worrying situation. That's a worrying situation.
First time Bangladesh was
Major
created.
General Asthana, that's a worrying situation. The violence in the country. Also, the BSF has been put on alert. Our border has been heavily fortified. And trains to Bangladesh have been cancelled. I think flights also to Dhaka by Air India have been cancelled now.
Certainly, it is a very volatile situation wherein I think a direct communication, that's why I'm saying the direct communication with the Army Chief of Bangladesh is necessary for the protection of the minorities, number one. And number two, bring the law and order at the right place. Because even through the international fora, whether it is United Nations or otherwise, because if it is, some pressure will have to be brought into effect. Because if army itself cannot control it, then who is going to control it? And army is in a position to control it. There is no other way. Police, after these 280 plus casualties, there are at least more than a dozen police personnel in that. And after the police casualties, police started withdrawing, and it started actually vanishing from the scene wherever they used to see the crowd. That was the status, and therefore army has no choice but to control now, and they can't go on like that. Government formulation is a separate is a step later. Similarly, the president also must step in, because president is the supreme commander of the armed forces in Bangladesh. Their constitution has got no provision of army taking over. Earlier, it used to be coup. It was coup earlier. In this case, it is certainly not coup, because Prime Minister Hasina, Sheikh Hasina, has been moved in army helicopter. So obviously, instead of putting her in jail, they have moved her out. So that's one issue. But notwithstanding that, the question is that army will have to perhaps take the situation in their hand before getting into the politics as to who should form interim government, and who should be there and who should not be there, etc., etc. So I think it's a professional call now, which the army should, and we should insist on that professional call.
All right.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.